my name is Matias. I'm 18 years old and I come from Peru. I'm currently living in Barcelona and racing for G4 Racing.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the podcast today, Matias. It's lovely to have you as a guest. Obviously, racing in Formula Regional European Championship this year, which was a support series to F1 at Monaco this weekend. Uh, how was it being support series at Monaco? Must
Oh,
have been quite special.
it was great. I think it's such a special opportunity, and of course, getting to race in Monaco itself is just incredible. It's like it's really hard to describe and to explain the feeling, but also to have Formula One there, like watching the races and everything, is just incredible. So yeah, it's a great opportunity, and of course, the championship is really competitive this year. Of course, going to a track like Monaco, you expect to be differences between some guys that are on a third year or even fourth year, or us, which go into the championship as rookies. But in the end, you see like a difference of 1 second, 1.2 seconds between first and almost last. So it's the level that there is in this series is just incredible. So it's been great that I'm participating in here because I can learn a lot and try to improve as a driver.
I think one question I'd like to ask, because I think everyone loves Monaco as a track, and obviously your cars are a lot smaller than the Formula One cars, so there's many more chances to maybe dive down the inside of a corner or whatever. But what is your favourite corner at Monaco? It's a good question to ask.
Yeah, I think it's a really really good question. I really like the casino, and then of course the hairpin. So but yeah, I mean, all the track is just incredible because I really enjoyed every corner that I was driving at the track. But I think the hairpin is really really fun because of course you go just full lock one handed and then go back, try to feed the throttle in to not get the wheel spin. So it's quite a fun corner, even though it's quite slow. But I made a move there in the race as well. So it is a corner where you can overtake. I think it's a really good overtaking opportunity. And then of course going under the bridge is just incredible as well. It's just the whole track. It's just so it's magical. You know, it's really really fun to drive. And to be honest, the like comparing it to the simulators that we tried before the race, because of course testing is impossible in this track. So all you can do is just simulator. It's actually not far off. It's really really good. So it's a good reference to for us drivers to train and just try to improve before going to the race weekend and then going straight out to the track.
Yeah, well, so it must be absolutely amazing to drive at Monaco. And you obviously had three race weekends now, Monza and Imola before that. What differences did you find being a support series to F1 compared to the first weekend at Monza, where Formula Regional was the main series partaking that weekend?
Well, the main thing is the timings. Of course, the time we have our practice, qualifying, races, and then also the format for us changed completely because we usually have practice one and practice two on Fridays. Then we have qualifying and one race on Saturday, and then another qualifying and another race on Sunday. So you have two opportunities. Now in Monaco, we literally just had one 50-minute practice on Thursday, one qualifying of like 30 minutes on Friday, and then we had one race on Saturday, one race on Sunday. So it's a different format, and of course with one practice in Monaco straight up to qualifying, it's actually quite difficult. So yeah, it's just a different. It's you have to get used to it really really quickly because of course before you have a lot of time to like test some things with the team, or like okay you finish practice one, going into practice two, you see some data, you see some videos, but now it's just okay practice then straight to qualifying. So it's actually pretty crazy, and the track evolution is insane because of course no one drives at the track, so the track's so dirty. So in practice one you go out and there's like dirt coming off the back of the cars, and then you go out in qualifying and it's so grippy, and then the race even more, and then the second race on Sunday there's so much grip like a normal track. So the track evolution is incredible. So you need to kind of get used to it, and of course expect the car to slide around in practice one. And well, there was a lot of crashes in practice one really because of course the track is really really slippery, so it's really hard to keep it on track. So, and of course having the wall like right next to you as well is like you make a small mistake or like you miscalculate a little bit and you clip the wall and then you break the whole corner, you know. So yeah, it's just an incredible track. It's really really fun.
Ah, sick. So, like, compared to the other two tracks that you've raced at this year, which was the most physically challenging one?
I think that's a good question. I think Monaco is like physically wise. I think I haven't had any issues, but Monaco is just mentally draining because, of course, everything is so fast. Everything comes at you so quickly, and you have no straights really to breathe or relax. So one thing that we talked about with the team is really important to breathe, because sometimes as a driver you don't realize, but when you're in this situation where everything is just happening so fast, you could like not breathe for a long time, and it's not good because you lose some focus. So we were training this to try and actually breathe on the straights, like deep breaths. And yeah, it's just mentally draining and mentally tiring because you finish the race and you sometimes have a headache. It was really warm as well, so that made it a bit harder as well. But yeah, I think physically, even Monaco was the hardest one physically. But out of the tracks I've driven, even in testing, I think Mugello is really, really hard. And then I've heard a lot of Sandboard. Sandboard is really, really physical. So I'm looking forward to that.
I've got a question about your simulator work. Obviously, you didn't have much practice time in Monaco. How much time, in compared to what you did practice-wise and stuff actually at Monaco, how much of it was spent on the simulators? Did you have lots of time to prepare, or was it quickly just get in?
Yeah, I think it was good because we had a lot of time to prepare. Of course, since we finished Imola, we had a couple of like 1 or 2 weeks until Monaco, so we had plenty of time to prepare. So, well, I mean, even the minimal things like watching videos from last year or watching Formula One onboards or F2 onboards, everything can help. So we started with that, and then of course here the workshop of the team is just 25 minutes away from here. So I just go down here, grab a train, go to the team, and then we're building a new sim. So we're getting some parts delivered. We're getting a new GP2 tub to put in the sim. So we're developing the simulator and improving it more to get it ready for mid-season more or less. But at the moment we still have a really good sim. So I've been going there a lot, and especially for Monaco, I think we must have spent a lot of days on the simulator. I've probably lost count of how many, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Well, as you stated before, you're from Peru, which is
Yeah.
quite a long way from Europe and Spain, where you reside now.
Yeah.
But you've now had 2 seasons in British F4 and that started your Formula Regional campaign. How different do you find, maybe like how aggressive drivers are across from the Americas compared to how they are in Europe?
I think well, of course I started racing in Peru, so the level was just not that great like in here, you know. So it's just starting to learn, starting to get used of the go-karts, and then I started to go to America or Argentina. In America, I found a big difference when I first went there because it was a grid of 44 karts at the same time on a start, and it's just incredible because you see like turn one, 10 cars are off, and then the racing is so aggressive, you know, because now if you go to a karting race, you have like the bumper penalties. Before there was nothing like that, so everyone would just hit each other, and just if so the guy in front was too slow, we would just come behind, just hit him, and he was off. So and nothing would happen because penalties were not a thing in America really. So it was just so like hard racing, and I think this helped me improve and get more aggressive, like be a little bit like them in some ways. And this helped definitely helped me to then move to Europe. But then of course I moved to Europe and they had this bumper method to give penalties, and of course you had to calm down a little bit, but it was still great to be aggressive and just learn your racecraft. And then I raced in the UK in 2019 in karting, in the British Karting Championships, while doing some F4 testing. And this, I think, is the biggest thing that helped me just in terms of racecraft. And it was just incredible because you've got a train from first to 25th, and it's all a train. There's no gap. And of course, every overtaking opportunity, someone's just diving down the inside. So it's either you dive down the inside of the guy in front, or someone behind is going to come down the inside. So it's basically do or get done. So you have to send it every time you can. And I think this really helped me, and then started putting it into practice in single seaters. Of course, in 2020 it was a difficult because it was like a big transition for me from karting to Formula 4. But then last year in 2021 I could really gain a lot of confidence with the Formula car, gain a confidence with the tracks, because of course the tracks in the UK in Formula are really, really hard. And of course, you make a small mistake, you're in the grass and then in the wall. In here in Europe, there's like big tracks, you have a lot of space. Well, Monaco is an exception, but other tracks is just completely different. So I could really get used to the tracks and the car, the teams, everything, and I could really put on my racecraft, and we had a good season. So yeah, it was great.
So when you obviously came to Europe to like compete in racing, like what age and like what was like the moment where you're like, oh, like this is such a good opportunity to like come to the UK and across Europe, race at these tracks?
Yeah, well, I think it has to be one race I did in Valencia. It was in 2018, I think, 2018 or starting 2019. I think it was starting 2019. It was a race in Valencia in X30, and I was already with a British team. It's called Fusion Motorsport, and I was with them, and we were in the race. I finished the race. I remember I had a good race, and one guy, he's called Gary, and he's my manager now. So he approached us, and he eventually told us, we want you guys to work with us, and of course form part of our team, etc. And they're called Infinity. And we said, yeah, of course, this is a great opportunity. Of course, we really need a manager to help guide us through like going from karting to single seaters and everything. So yeah, I think this was a great opportunity, because then they told us the UK is the place to go in Formula, or like starting karting first before you jump into Formula. And I really think it was a good choice. It was a really, really good choice to go with them first, and then to go to the UK, because it definitely helped me improve a lot to the driver I am now, and especially in racecraft and defending and everything. So I think yeah, in the start of 2019 in Spain, that's when I realized, yeah, UK is the place to go.
Speaking about your progression and everything, so obviously Gregoire Saucy was the previous championship champion of your category, and he's obviously now in Formula 3, and he's getting really good results and everything like that. How quickly do you think Formula 3 could be achievable for you?
That's a good question. I think well, of course, first we just need to focus on this season, and then I think everyone starts looking at next season once we get to the halfway points in this season. So we still got a couple more races to go, and I think if we really start picking up some good results, some points now, I think there's some good chances maybe for next year or even 2 years. So yeah, I think it would be great, because this series is really competitive, and it really helps you build as a driver. Of course, Gregoire Saucy stayed in the series for I think 3 years or something, and there's a lot of drivers that are trying to do the same. You have some big names in the series that have done 3 years, or even other drivers that are on fourth year or something like that. So it's crazy coming in as a rookie and seeing these guys already having 3 years of experience in this car, the same tracks, everything. So it's a big advantage for them compared to us. But it's still all so close that you realize, okay, I'm actually doing really well. So it's just a question of hooking up the perfect lap, because in here it's just fine margins that can cost us 10 positions or something. So yeah, it's pretty insane. So I think this is definitely preparing me for the next step, and hopefully it comes soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, some big names in the series that have been in there a while, but that also brings in big sponsors and
Yeah.
big eyes in the sport onto your series. So do you feel more pressure now driving around in a series where there's like drivers sponsored by big teams in F1 compared to Formula 4 where it's more localized?
Yeah, of course. I think that's completely right. Of course, in British F4, it's a bit more relaxed, sort of, because it's just, of course, very local. Only in England, everyone in England knows what's going on. But if you see now coming to Europe, you realize no one's really looking too much into it. They're all just focused in the Italian F4, which is basically the support series of Formula Regional. So it's basically the same. But I definitely think now, as a first year driver, for me, I have no pressure at all. I feel no pressure. enjoy going out to the track, having fun, doing the best I can. And I think the pressure comes if you're in a third year fighting for the championship. That's when you really start getting the pressure, and I'm sure those guys are feeling it. And of course, having like being an F1 junior of a team, that must give you extra pressure. So the pressure in the sport in general is really high. But for me at the moment, it's just a moment of transition. So I'm actually quite relaxed. I don't feel the pressure or anything, but I'm sure it will come.
Yeah.
So obviously racing in Formula 4 and racing at these tracks now, like with what was your like favorite track in Formula 4 in the UK that you race at?
I think I really like Knock Hill. It was in Scotland. It's a crazy track because it's really small, but it's like it's in a hill. So it's just so many like up and down, and then a blind chicane where you just jump. It's a crazy track. And then of course Alton Park, I think has to be my favorite in front of Knock Hill. Alton Park was just crazy. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, all of the British tracks are going to be amazing. We're heavily biased on this.
Yeah.
I love Knock Hill myself. It's just like the first few corners is just ridiculous and everything like that. But on the topic of before you're racing, do you have any pre-race rituals? Do you have any superstitions? Are you a superstitious man?
I mean, not really, but of course we do have our routines, like to like do warm up and everything. So that's just general, just doing some like skipping rope or like stretching or doing some neck stuff. But that's basically it. Then I just listen to some music and then just sit and relax. And then of course then just jump in the car. I think maybe like I hit my body. It's just to activate the muscles like arms, legs, the core, everything. And I think that's quite unique. I've seen only one more driver do it, and that's actually Hauger. He also does the same thing. But it's all like just to activate the muscles. So you just hit all the parts of your body. And yeah, that's sort of the only thing I really do before jumping into the car.
No, yeah, well, if you could replicate Dennis's success, I'm sure you'd be very happy with his 3 time.
Yeah.
But talking of like before a race, do you find that the engineers in Formula Regional allow you to be like more involved with setup, or is it a similar level to how you were with British F4 or less, maybe?
I think in British F4, well, of course, I had my driver coach who was Ricky Collard, and of course, it was me, my engineer, and Ricky. It was like a triangle of us, and we were all working on the car setup. And they would make the decisions. I would just try and give the best feedback I could, and then try and see if some things worked or didn't. But I think now with this team, it's a Spanish team. It's so friendly. It's basically like a family. So I've got so much like confidence on telling them if something is not right, if something's gone wrong, if something's great, if something's gone completely right. So I think with my engineer, I can easily tell him like, what do you think about? Of course, we both have to agree to make a change, but it's like I give him the feedback and then I say, okay, what do you think about changing this or that? I'd say, yeah, but maybe this could compromise you in this area and stuff like that. So I think you have a lot of like liberty to try and change things, especially in pre-practice. Of course, you don't want to change it in qualifying or the race like this, but yeah, I think it's just like so much like connection and confidence because the team is just fantastic. So myself and my engineer, we only had a couple races together, and I already feel like I've been with him for the past year as well. So it's a great connection and it's really important as a driver with your engineer to have the best connection possible, because if you don't have a connection or you're not like really confident with him, it's not going to work at all. So it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
So my question is, obviously when you were like karting in Americas and there was like no rules where you could just like take each other off the track, was like single seaters like what you wanted to do like after that, or did you just do it for fun, or did you like want to maybe go into like a bigger car sort of series?
I think, well, first, like in America, it's I think I just went there at the moment. I was still quite young, so I didn't really think as a job or like really professionally. So I was going there, okay, to try and improve myself, try and gain more experience, with a bigger grid, more cars, and more aggressive racing. And I think it definitely worked. But of course, in the things we did there in America, if you try and do it in a single seater, you'll end up with no corners and no front wing. So I think it's in a way it was I don't know, it's just completely different, because then back then it was just more of like having fun, enjoying the racing, and now it's just really serious. And one thing I realized is everyone's just so like focused, and it's of course our dreams to get to eventually Formula One, and this is basically our job, and it's like a profession, and the pressure of course starts building as well. So yeah, it's just completely different worlds to how it was before. So it's a crazy change, really.
To elaborate on my last question, actually, you mentioned obviously you listen to music before you race. What's on the playlist? What kind of songs do you listen to?
I actually listen to everything, literally everything. So I can listen to rap, I can listen to like reggaeton, I can listen to electronic music, I can listen to rock, I can listen to everything, literally everything. But I think for me, my favorite band, or the band I listen to the most, it could be Coldplay or
Oh,
Imagine Dragons. And then well, in Spanish music, I really like Bad Bunny. So that's my favorite artist in like Spanish songs and stuff. So, but
gets you
Coldplay,
hyped.
I really like Coldplay as well. So yeah.
Sounds good. And a little bit going back to how you said you really like Alton Park. Obviously, one of the trickier corners at Alton Park being Druids out
Yeah.
of the chicanes. What would you find is the hardest corner that you've had to take since moving into single-seater cars?
Oh, the hardest corner. I think
The
it could be like in here in Europe, or
Yeah,
only
yeah,
in England. I
anything.
think it could be in Imola, Acqua Minerali, of course, the double
Yeah,
right. It's actually really hard, because you have to carry in a lot of speed in, so you're kind of double pedaling at the moment. So you have to keep it pinned, but then feed in a little bit of the brake, and then start coming off the throttle while applying more pressure. So it's actually really hard to get it right, and really easy to lock up the front right and just go straight, as we've seen plenty of times as well in Formula One, or just to lose the rear. So it's such a difficult corner, I think, but I really enjoyed it. And we were surprisingly fast in that corner. We were catching a lot of people there. So it's also important to get a good exit, because it's uphill. So it's just like the downhill corner, a little bit banked, and then uphill exit. So you need to be really early on power to not like scrub or lose any speed. So yeah, it's just really hard. I think that's the hardest corner. And then really close to it, it has to be the Knockhill chicane. That
yeah,
chicane is actually really hard, because it's completely blind, and you have to hit the curbs perfectly to land really nicely, because you could easily just lose the rear of the car and end up in the wall, like we've seen plenty of times. So it's really important to get it right, and especially over the course of the race, which is like 20 minutes for us, you have to hit it perfect every lap. So it's actually quite hard mentally as well.
definitely. Any questions
Yeah.
there? No?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so obviously you've got a lot of races still to go. Obviously, you got Paul Ricard coming up. You've also got Zandvoort and Hungary. What track are you most looking forward to racing at? Obviously, these are all new tracks to you.
Yeah, I think the track I'm most looking forward to has to be Barcelona, because it's sort of a home race, home track. And in preseason testing, we were incredibly fast in there. So I think the team has a really good car in this track as well. And it's quite late on in the season. So I will have a lot more experience. And the car is great there. I was fast there. So I think that's going to be the weekend, I hope, as well. So, and then also Red Bull Ring. I think Red Bull Ring is going to be a really interesting race. So yeah, really looking forward to those.
Two tracks where you can really overtake as well, which is good in your
Yeah.
cars as well. So even say, if there's a lot of competition, you could just, as you said in karting, just slide out the inside and just hope for the best kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. The racing is really close in here. Actually, it's quite similar to karting. You will see even though you have the dirty air, with the new push to pass we've got, it actually helps quite a bit with the overtaking. It's just a button in the wheel and we press it, and it's 15 seconds. You've got extra 20 horsepower. So of course, it only works from fourth gear upwards. So you go third and then change to fourth, and then you can use it. So in Monaco, it wasn't really that useful because we just changed to fourth towards the end of the main straight, and then going up the hill as well. We just changed to fourth at the end. The only place we could really use it was under the bridge, and you always kind of come out of the corner with a little bit of a gap because of the dirty air on the right. So yeah, it didn't really work there too much. But in tracks like Monza or Imola or Barcelona, where the straight is quite big, even in Paul Ricard now the straights are massive. So push to pass is going to be extremely important. So it really helps with the racecraft, and racing is actually really, really fun in this series. It's really easy to overtake.
Yeah, well, I know you've only had 2 races in Italy and 1 in Monaco, so not too far away. But how are you finding the travel difference compared to just going around the UK, which is obviously a little bit more compact?
Yeah, I actually think, like, in the UK, it's of course everything by car. So I would much rather drive, because we drove from here, Barcelona, to Monaco, and it's about 6.5 hours. So I think I would much rather drive 6.5 hours from Barcelona to Monaco than from London to Knock Hill. So I think it's definitely nicer, but I think it's a bit easier, of course, in the UK because everything was by car, and it's like, I don't know, 1.5 hours to Donington or 2 hours to this place, or maybe Snet was a little bit far away, all the way down in Norwich. So that's a bit far as well. So here now, flying, like, of course you get used to it, but I think with all the flights we have in the year, it's actually quite tiring. So of course, just like going through the process of going to the airport, dropping your bag, getting in the plane, and blah blah blah, it's so long. So doing this quite often during the year, it's actually quite tiring. So, but it was worse before, when I was, of course, in Peru, because before I would just fly from Peru to Europe when I was in karting, and I had to miss school, and we had to fly basically one day earlier than we would, because it's like a 12-hour flight plus the 7-hour time difference. There was more in here. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. But I think in England it was just so easy. My coach would just come pick me up, drive 1.5 hours where the track. So it was quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, me and some of my friends from my uni course are driving around following British GT this year, and we're not looking forward to Snetterton in Norwich. That's going to be quite the drive.
It's
Gonna be a
really
long
far.
drive.
It's really
Yeah.
far, and there's nothing around as well. So it's not like, okay, I'm driving here, but there's a big city in here that I can do some stuff. It's like in Snet, of course, as a driver, you just go to the track, the hotel, maybe, I don't know, a restaurant nearby, and that's it. It's just a triangle of those 3 things: track, hotel, eat, sleep, race, eat, sleep, race. So it's basically the only things we do. So yeah, for us, it's basically the same if you're in a big city or a small town. But I guess for like spectators, if you go to watch a race and there's nothing around, you're like, So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
Just one quickly. So with Paul last year, you came second.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was like a big like moment in your like career so far. Obviously, did it come down to like the last 3 races, and there was like, was it like 4 drivers all going for the title? Like you came down to the last 3. What was your like mind frame going into that weekend, knowing there was 4 of you all going for the same thing?
Yeah, well, it was really, really hard. Of course, the season got really long towards the end, because coming from the COVID season in 2020, everything was just so compact, because we only raced, like, in the space of 3 months, we raced like 30 races. So it was all so quick. And then now for 2021, it was, of course, spread throughout the whole year. So at the beginning, it was not what we expected, but then, of course, we started catching up, getting some good results consistently, and we caught up, overtook the leaders, and we were the leader of the championship. And then I think ever since then, we didn't really like look too much into the table or stuff like this. It was more of like just going to the races and doing what I've been doing. So just doing exactly the same, just focus on what we have to do, and it will come naturally. So it's our first focus practice, then qualifying, then the races. Okay, we finish the race, we can take a quick look at the table. Okay, keep on going. So, but I think once we got towards the end, of course, there was 4 drivers in it, like you said, and it was in Donington Park. I think we didn't really have a great qualifying. We qualified like 7th, and it was like probably, I think, one of the worst qualifyings of the year, I think, or like worst result in qualifying. And it was like okay, I needed to be at the front. My other rival was starting on pole for both races, so I really needed to get overtaken in the races. And I think we in race 1 it was quite tough. We didn't really have too much pace. In race 2 was a reverse grid, and we make some good moves. And then in race 3 we started 7th. We went up to 3rd in like lap 2 or something, and then we got hit off the track, but then came back to 2nd again. So that was a good race and kind of kept our hopes alive for the championship, because it was only 12 points going into the last round in Brands Hatch. But yeah, of course, going into Brands Hatch, 12 points, it was basically the same. I wasn't really too pressured by it. I think more pressure was on the guy that was leading the championship to maintain the lead. And we qualified really well. We were in front of him for both races, but then I think for race 1, I was just, you change a lot compared to how you are at the beginning of the season, especially if you're fighting for a championship. You turn into a completely different driver. So I remember you just go and you just focus on overtaking everyone you have in front. You don't care about the championship. You don't care about the points. You only care about, if you've got a car in front, you just send it in. So that's what I was doing in race 1. But then unfortunately we had a little bit of contact with my teammate in Brands in the last couple of corners, and we ended up off in the first race. So then the gap was just huge. So yeah, that was basically the turning point in the championship. But then we also still had to worry about the 2 guys in front, because we were really close together. So then in race 2 we had a puncture, so that didn't help, and that's when the other guy won the championship. But then in race 3 we had a good race. We finished in 2nd, and we could stay in 2nd for the championship as well, because of the fastest lap. There's 1 point, and we were equal on points. And he finished 1st, I was in 2nd, and I got the fastest lap, so that 1 point helped me finish in 2nd place. So it was still really close, so you still have to focus about other things. So yeah, it's crazy how you can have so much like heartbreak about losing the championship, but you need to like wake up, because there's 2 guys behind you that could also overtake you. So you need to like just change, move on, turn the page, and just keep going. So yeah, it was a fun season. It was pretty up and down. So but I really enjoyed it. It was incredible.
Sounds fantastic. So I think well, the meeting's going to end soon anyway, so I think that's all the time we have. But thank you for joining us, Matias. It's been wonderful having you. And
thank you very much.
Yes, but good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, good luck.
We'll be rooting for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.